Howdy. So, today is 7/7/2020, and I'm in sweltering Chicago, Illinois, and I have some news. The news, this is the car that I have been just driven across country from California in. This is the 95 Honda Civic that I've dubbed Randall's Rocket. And it's empty of all my stuff, finally. And I just wanted to let you see what it was, what it is. And now we're going to step outside. This is what it looks like. Yay! Randall's Rocket has served me well. Oh, what's that blue thing? Let's go take a look at that, shall we? The blue thing. Oh, I don't know, there might be too much blue. It could be a blue van, I don't know. But I just got it from the dealer. Oh, yes. Yeah. This is what it is. And stepping through. Yes. Yes. And let me do the reverse so you can see I'm standing in the van. Hallelujah. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, what's happening is, thanks to my friend Maureen, who's connected with the tribal nations, she hooked me up with this woman who has an incredible name, and her name is actually in Lakota Sioux is White Buffalo Calf Woman. It's just tripping me out. I don't know how to say her name in Lakota, but she's on her way here with her son from Omaha to pick up the white car. And yeah, it's all happening. It's all happening. That's from Almost Famous. There's this kid that runs through the movie, and whenever you see him, he says, "It's all happening. It's all happening." Yeah, well, it is. And hey, Terry. So excited. Oh, shall we start it up? Yes, we shall. This is a diesel. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I like a car that when you put the key in and turn it, it turns on, and you put your foot on the brake and it stops, and you put your foot on the gas and it goes. I don't ask much more, you know. So I've got a bit of a wait because they needed a little help getting out of Omaha. So it's like a 7-hour drive. So I'll be here for the rest of the afternoon and sign the Randall's rocket over to them, and they're off. And she's a cancer survivor as well. And the whole idea was to try to get it to the tribes and get it to somebody that was close to what the situation I was in, that needed it to get to treatment and whatnot. But I'll just be happy with it getting to the tribe at this point, because I gotta go. Brother's gotta go. And she's pretty connected. So that's our deal. And to say that I'm relieved and excited, it would be an understatement. It's only taken, in truth, a couple of years to get to this point, but doubly so since the diagnosis in September. And this rig comes with I've got a month to get it registered someplace other than Illinois, and hook up the insurance and all that, and I'm good to go. So it's this is where at least half of the so what I paid for this van, they wanted $5,900, and I paid them $5,555, and they didn't want the 55 cents. But you get the general idea. We had a good laugh about it, and so we have the van. And hey, Precious, I'm sorry we weren't able to work that out. Precious is another member of the tribe that we were trying to get it to her, but just timing is everything. Sorry about that. This experience made me wish that I had a whole, as I said to Precious the other night, had a whole parking, whole car lot full of cars to give to the tribes, because the need is great. So if anybody else wants to think about, donating your car to any of the tribes, pick a tribe. They're very much in need. There's a lot of poverty, as we all know. So what's happening? I'm feeling really good physically. I've been on the road since the 3rd, and I've been taking really good care of myself. Resting when I feel tired, pulling over, using rest areas for a change, and getting motel rooms when I really need to stretch out. But now I don't have to worry about that, because I have all this friggin' space. You want to see how much space there is in this thing? Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, that's like 15 feet of space, and I'm ducking, but it's just this is a air conditioning unit. There's an air conditioning unit on the roof, and this right here is, I don't know what the heck. What do we got going on here? Wow. It's the radio. Magnificent. But I think you can flip it to, oh yeah, there's a computer thing. Yeah, you can flip it to, I haven't really delved into that yet, but pretty excited. And did I mention that it's blue? Go ahead. Look at that. Isn't that wonderful? Hey, Rory. I see you standing in your van, man. Yeah, really. I'm so excited because you see how easy it seems to fit into a parking spot. That was a major criterion for me. I wanted to make sure that I could park it on LA streets without causing too much of a stir. And I think we're there. There we go. Cool. Should probably shut it off. Oh man, look at these tires. This is like that. Look at that tread on that tire. Those are freaking brand new tires. So we're doing good. We're doing good. I could show you let's pop the hood. Let's take a look at that engine. If we can. Wow. 1, 2, 3. Looks like it's a 5-cylinder. This is a 2006. Really clean engine. It says it's got that nice battery, really strong battery. The engine looks, like it's barely been used, but it says it has 360,000 miles on it. But I think they use it as an airport jitney. And hey, Heidi. Here we go. I think they use it as an airport jitney, and it looks like these engines. It's a diesel. These engines are usually good for at least at least 600,000 miles. And in a busy year, I'll put about 25,000 on it. So I've got about at least 8 years on this engine, and but I really think that it's going to. Hold on a sec. Let me get this going. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, I think that the engine is probably good for a whole lot longer than those 8 years. I got to tell you. What's going on here? Something in the way. Oh, there we go. Used cars have quirks. You either work with them or get worked by them. And I'm just glad to be here. So I'll most likely be heading east from here later tonight, as soon as these folks come and get that, and just park at a rest area, my first rest area in my new van, my new condo, my empire. So exciting. It feels amazing to have gone through this whole ordeal with the cancer and everything, and saving my pennies and hoping that I would find something. And let me shut that off. And when I first started looking, I didn't know if I would actually be alive through the spring. And so at one point it was just kind of like my mental bubblegum, and I was dreaming about being able to drive cross country in my new van and everything, and not knowing if I'd be alive for that, and but you do what you can when you can, and I put the call out to receive the donations to help me through the cancer thing, And I think I saved half of what people donated. The total donations were somewhere around $11,000 for the GoFundMe, and a little more for the little more, maybe 2,000 more not connected to. Oh, goody! I'm gonna get to pull up in a second. And I saved about half of those donations for this, and it's weird. There we go. Oh. And I was, I've never paid so much for something. I've spent the most money in one day that I could think of. I handed the man my bank card, and he charged $5,000 off of it. And combining that with the down payment of $555, here we are. And it, that money came from a lot of people that cared about me and what happened to me and wanted to see me alive in the world still. And so my joy is kind of amped by the inclusion of all the love of all the people that just wanted to see me back in my happy place. In my vagabondage. I want to tell a story. Years ago, there were a group of us coming from the Rainbow Gathering in Missouri, and we stopped in New York, and at somebody's apartment, and we pull up in front of the apartment building, and it was just around sunset, and we'd been in the car for hours, and fresh from the woods basically, and so we're standing on the sidewalk just kind of stretching ourselves before we go into the building, because aside from the car, we hadn't been in a building in weeks, being at the gathering. And I guess we looked a little rough around the edges. Well, we definitely didn't look like we belonged in New York City, And there were 6 of us crammed into this little sedan. And so we're standing there, and I'm just looking up at the sky, and there's these two guys walking up the sidewalk with suits, except one of them had the suit coat over his shoulder, but they both had pizzas under their arm, right? And so they have suit and tie, but and they're young guys. They're probably like 23 or so, and one of the guy that didn't have his suit coat on, as he passed me, he kind of did this pirouette and kept our eyes locked, and we're looking at one another, and I'm just being myself, just feeling like you would at a rainbow gathering. I'm being welcoming and saying hello, and I say hello, and he gets this really weird look on his face, just curious, and he goes, "Who are you people?" And I said, we just came from the National Rainbow Gathering in Missouri, and we're on our way up to this reggae festival in Vermont Reggae Festival. And he's like, wow. And right then his friend came running back to him, and he says, he's got his phone, and he says, "There's somebody just called and we gotta go," and la 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 la. He says, "Yeah, I'll be right there." And he looks back at me, and he grabs my hand actually, and he says, please keep doing what you're doing, because people like me, and he just points at himself and all his get up and everything. He says, we need to know that there's people like you out there living this, and I was like, and I just had this moment, and then he ran off and with his pizza, and we went on to the Vermont Reggae Festival. And what I learned from that, obviously, is that there are people that everybody's where they need to be for the most part, with few exceptions. And I realized that my life is a sacred walk, especially from here on, and I know exactly how blessed I am. And I'm 62 years old, and I'm gonna get to be 63 in a month. Thank goodness. Month and a half. August 26th. I'll be 63. 63 trips around the sun. And we it's our nature to take that sort of thing for granted, And I was talking to Maureen the other night about how, people will say things like, "Oh, I'll see you next week," or "Why don't we get together the week after next?" And like there was a person that was saying that they wanted to do an interview for their podcast. Sometime they were booking for September and October, and I was like, girl, there is so much water but under the bridge between now and then. There's no way I can make that kind of commitment, there's no way. And I realize that's how most people live. I can't live like that. There's just no way. It's impossible. After 62 years, after a while, you kind of realize there's a pattern, and the pattern is that I'm just not going to be able to live like other people, and I'm okay with that. I don't really want to live like the majority of the rest of the world, But I have the utmost respect for those that's what they're here to do. I'm just not one of those folks, and I'm okay with that. My job is to deliver the work that I, have received the inspiration for, and deliver it to the world as best I can. That's my full-time job. And that means I need a lot of unassigned time, and I need a lot of time to just meditate and be quiet, and I got to cover a lot of ground. And the reason I need to cover all that ground is to gain a certain understanding, and to gain and maintain a certain understanding of what the fuck is really going on in this world, so that I can, give some kind of, give my 2 cents, and as best I can. And even if that 2 cents is a painting or a poem or a piece of music or a novel, I delight in what I'm here to do. And these are my tools and these are my toys. This my blue bubble here, my blue rocket ship. We call I call things rocket ships after, what is this? This is I've only owned Volkswagen buses and bugs for the most part, and I owned a couple of rabbits, but I've probably owned about 24 of them, I guess, over the years, until the Randall's rocket. And I think the first car that I literally owned it, but I never actually drove it, was a Caprice. But and I had the use of other vehicles and stuff, but I've only owned Volkswagens until now. Loving that German engineering. But when you own Volkswagens, there's two requirements. One, you are an automatic crisis mechanic, meaning that you got to be ready to deal with some sort of mechanical crisis at any time because it's likely. And the other is that you get used to the only time you're going to go more than 60 miles an hour is downhill with a tailwind. So get used to breaking down in weird places. Like, what are some of the weirdest places you broke down in, David? Okay, well, how about I was broke down in the Everglades for 2 weeks. How about that? How about the Bonneville Salt Flats? Stranded in the middle of Bonneville Salt Flats, 30 miles from gasoline. 30 miles from gasoline, right? Volkswagen bus gets about 20, on a good day, it gets about 20 miles to the gallon. And the police were kind enough to bring me a gallon of gas, right? So I made it, 20-something miles, 21 miles, closer to the gas, and I had to hitch the rest of the way. But I did, if you want to check, there is a video called Broke Down and Out of Gas in the Bonneville Salt Flats on my YouTube channel. That I, while I was waiting for them to deliver the gas, I went out into the middle of between the two highways. And what was really cool about that, getting stuck there, was, you wouldn't normally stop in the middle of the Bonneville Salt Flats, right? But standing in the middle in between the two highways, going east and west, the road in both directions goes into a vanishing point, and so that's why I shot that video. I was like, this is so cool, because obviously I wouldn't have chosen that, but that's what happened. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna get to pull up some more. I want to be out in front so that when the woman comes, when White Buffalo Calf woman shows up, that she can see. There we go. Hallelujah. Here we go. She can see me. Cool. All right. So, yeah, I'll let you go. Get back to, you're busy, and get a couple more things to do. So, once again, I just want to say thank you to everyone that held me in their prayers and holds me in their prayers. Everyone that, my angels who donated to my GoFundMe, and what you contributed to, what I used your money for. I'm going to give a quick accounting. Is I spent $5,555 on this. I spent $777.77 on a new computer that can be used I actually had John Riley's son Xander build it, that can be used to create a 24-hour live streaming channel. And we shot the video last week of him building it. It took him an hour to build this piece of hardware. And so in the coming months and years, you'll be able to access all of my media 24 hours a day, and hopefully with some live streaming, on location, wherever I am. So I'll be able to live stream wherever I am, and do my paintings and all that kind of stuff live on my computer and everything, webcast. But I needed to, wouldn't you know it, it's like right in the middle of, just before the, right after I got the diagnosis and before I started treatment, I had been focused on doing the, doing as many episodes of the Enoch movie as I could, and finishing the book, the Natural History of Life and Death. And wouldn't you know it, in the middle of all that, my old computer died. So I had to buy a new one. Not a new one, a used one. And that was $1,300. And that's what I used your donations for that, so that I could hopefully try to finish or get as many of the episodes of Enoch done before I began treatment. And now that I know that I'm going to be alive a while longer, because there are no guarantees, right? I have that computer to, finish the Enoch movie. Right now I'm on episode 12. And I just published, just before I left Venice in April, to go to the hot springs that I found in the Southern Sierra, I was able to self-publish the Natural History of Life and Death, and that's available on Amazon. Although it's not available on my website yet, I still need to get that current. But it's available on Amazon, and in the paper copies. If you were interested in an ebook, anybody, just send me your email address, and I'll send you a free copy of the ebook version, a PDF version. It's 578 pages or 87 pages, 587 pages. And it feels really good. That's 10 years worth of work right there. Feels really good to have that done. And thanks, Rory, for your help with that. It has all the information about the subtle energy grid of the planet on it, and or as much as I know about. I know that Rory is working on a manuscript that will detail more succinctly everything that we've learned so far about the subtle energy grid of the planet. All the ley lines and nodes. So there's that. So to finish the accounting, I spent about $3,000 on of the donations on vitamins and supplements and mushrooms in, not medicinal mushrooms, not psilocybin or trippin mushrooms or anything like that. Things like turkey tail and shiitake and maitake and all that sort of stuff to build up my immune system before the treatments. And it's still, I have to keep reminding myself that, it's only been 3 months since the last radiation treatment. And I'm really glad that I was able to complete that process to my satisfaction, and to be able to stop taking radiation treatments when I did, because I would be seriously, I wouldn't be sitting here right now if I hadn't, followed my own intuition and been my own advocate, which I've said it before, I'll say it again, it being my own advocate has been a major aspect of the lessons of this whole thing. When it happened, it was throat cancer basically, and so that's throat chakra, and throat chakra is all about, your voice. It's all about the word and the breath, and and manifesting, and it's about wealth as well, and so it's interesting that since the diagnosis, I've been revealing my wealth to me, revealing just how wealthy I am, inside and out, and attracting wealth, attracting material wealth as well. Case in point, just kind of telling on myself a little bit. Astrologically, I have the chart of when other astrologers look at my chart, they're surprised that I'm not like some mogul or something, because there's so much emphasis on the fact that I should be some sort of mover and shaker, especially with regards to resources and whatnot. And on one level I am, but not in the traditional sense, because I have 2 storage units, one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast, full of my work, So it's like years ago I had a card reader do a reading for me, and they were like, they gave me this perception. They had this image of a dragon sitting on this pile of gold, that they'd collected, and that it was what I got from that. It was time to disseminate the gold. It's like, what's the point of sitting on it if you're not, it's putting it in circulation. And the gold was that I literally have a stack of paintings that go up to my chest, in storage on the West Coast, and because I'd paint them on the board, and then I'd take them off and pile them up, and because it's the easiest way to store them. So there's over 2,000 canvases, and at the time, that was when I did that. That was 20 years ago when she did that reading. That was in 2000, and at the time I just had ideas about books I was going to write and whatnot, and I wasn't. It took me, I didn't really start hitting my stride until 10 years ago, but in 2007, 2008, that year I published, I think, 10 books, and but those were all nonfiction books, and they weren't. It took, this past 5 years, since 2015, man. I did 16 books, 16 or 17, 18, something like that, and that's the gold the dragon has been sitting on, and this dragon. If I am that dragon, another thing about if you're sitting on your gold, you're not flying, you're not using your wings, dang it. And I'm a person that's always wanted to learn how to fly, and I actually wrote a book called Learning to Fly, and so the message has been very clear. I've spent the past 20 years trying to, do the work and get the work out, and fly all at the same time. And now it's, I really feel the dissemination part. I really feel the need to use what resources I have going forward to disseminating the work, getting the work to the people it was designed for. And I'm really excited about that. That's that part of that is why I followed my intuition. And when John Riley said to me while I was visiting, he and I and his son were sitting there watching. We watched the 11th episode of my Enoch movie, and he said, you must have enough content to do a 24-hour live stream. We could hook you up, and so I'm in the process of being hooked up, and that's what the live stream computer is all about. And it's about disseminating the work at this point. So so there's three main things that I've been it's been nearly a month. On the 10th it'll be a month since I was received the news that I was cancer free. And since that time, I've spent the past several weeks kind of accelerating, putting myself out in the wilderness and going up on the mountaintop and receiving guidance, receiving inspirations, getting my marching orders going forward. Trying to discern what does the universe want of me, because I'm all about it. You've decided to keep me here for longer, so what's the program, and so there's three things that have been emphasized. One is learning to fly in the material world, and in all that means metaphorically as well as physically. One is disseminating the work. And the third thing is philanthropy. Doing whatever I can to help, with resources, getting resources to those that feel that they can use them, make use of them best. And, for the love of mankind, philanthropy, that's what it means, for the love of mankind. And a couple of the projects that are on that in that light, there is one of the things that came to me when I was up on the mountain was the idea of going forward with this idea of the sacred trust, the sacred land trust, and the trust for sacred lands to secure key points and nodes along the emperor dragons that go across America and around the world, that are available, that may need protection for future generations. And another project is establishing an academy for disseminating information with regards to the Earth's subtle energy grid and the Earth's subtle energy field. And another project is, and this is one that just landed on my plate. My high school, actually childhood friend, Harold Bird from Falmouth. He works with an organization that's partnered with some folks on the ground in Tanzania, these two villages at the base of Mount Kenya. Mount Meru, which is one of the tallest mountains on the continent. And these are two Maasai villages, and there's about 8,000 people in these two villages. And they require two wells dug in one for each of those villages. And at the moment, those folks in those villages spend, which means most of the women and girls spend most of their day walking the 8 to 10 kilometers to draw water. And imagine what would happen if you freed those folks up, because there's a well of healthy water in the village, and the effect of freeing up the feminine population to be able to have a more of a hands-on impact and influence in the direction of their communities. So I just talked to Harold about this yesterday. They've already done the survey to determine, how deep the wells are. They would have to be. They're about 1,500 feet. They've found where the water is and where they know where to dig it and all that sort of stuff. They need $20,000 for each of those wells. So we're looking at $40,000. So we're looking at approximately $50,000 to get it all, just to make sure we have enough for everything. And however we can raise that to make this happen as soon as possible, because they've been working on this for 3 years. So the sooner we can make that happen, and you're welcome to make donations to my GoFundMe, or because the GoFundMe is going to continue to receive donations for this philanthropy. And the first project obviously will be these wells, these water projects in Tanzania. And or I can, if you're really serious about, and you want to take a more proactive role in this project, I can put you in touch with Harold. And he's based in Venice, which is really funny because Harold and I grew up about 150 yards apart. We've known one another since kindergarten. We went to college a mile apart, and here we end up living a mile apart in Venice. Just so bizarre. And in high school, we played the same position. And we started in the same backfield as backs, and we ran the same races in track. We're both sprinters. Harold was pretty. At one point, he was one of the fastest people in the state. And in Massachusetts, and we both got recruited to go to Amherst College, and I wanted to party, so I ended up going to UMass Amherst, which is a mile away from Amherst College, where Harold went. And we both played our first, freshman and sophomore years at our schools. And then we both ended up playing rugby because, rugby was more fun. And it's so funny that Harold and I have this, our lives have just sort of, I think there are people in our town that thought that we were brothers, because we were always, he had a paper route, and I was his replacement on his paper route. It's just so funny. His brother and my sister went to the prom together. His younger brother and my brother used to be best friends growing up. Just when we were the first families of color in our neighborhood growing up. So, which had its own challenges back in the 60s. So anyway, Harold is a really, really amazing human being. One of his first jobs, even when he was in college, as he was his senior year, was working with the Children's Television Network on this study to determine the effects of television on children. And he basically designed and built the hardware for that and put it in place for that study. That was his, and he worked for years for the Children's Computer Network, and then for, software development, educational software development and all that kind of stuff. And right now, he caretakes for an older gentleman that has some kind of muscular dystrophy or something like that. So Harold is definitely one of my heroes, and one of the people I want to interview for my streaming, my live streaming channel. But anyway, I need to get going. So we're at we're at that point in the process where I get to do my favorite thing here, which is to beam you some love. Wow. This is me beaming love at you. Whew, that was a good one. So remember, hey Bill Robertson, hey Bruce Wise. Oh yeah, I did. Bruce reminded me of this football game when my freshman year where I played. We were playing against Fairhaven, and we were undefeated up to that point. And this is such a weird story. And so there was this play where I was the offensive end on, let's say, the right side of the field, and the play was to the other side of the field. It was like a run around, end run by I think Mark Shequin from the backfield. And so he starts moving that way, and I blocked my person, and I just started moving that way. And it turned out that he had one person to beat. And I was just running along, and I dived underneath the legs of the person that was trying to tackle him, and he went on to score. But that person that I dived under his legs, he landed on the back of my right ankle. And at the time, it hurt a little bit, and I just carried on playing. And, we played the rest of the game, and unfortunately, it's the only game that year that we lost. And at the end of the game, I went up, like everybody, went into got my shower and everything like that. But by the time I walked out of the locker room to get to the car, I was limping. My foot was really killing me. And by the time we got home to the house, I couldn't get out of the car. And so my mother, she took a look at my foot, and she's just like, don't even try. Closed the door, drove me to the emergency room, and they ended up putting a cast on my ankle because it was broken in 2 places. I played the rest of the freaking game on a broken ankle, and I didn't even know it, So the sequel to this story is, we won the rest of our season. So we had I think either 8-1 or 9-1 record. And the next year, we were all JVs the next year. And as sophomores, when it came time for us to play Fairhaven, we had payback, and we got even the players that were varsity that were from our old team. We had them come back and play with us for this game, and so we're in this game, and we're bound to determine we're going to beat Fairhaven, right? And the same exact conditions happened, except reversed. So this time I'm still on the right end. It's on the same play, same exact play, except we're going the other direction, right? Towards the other goal line. And the same situation happens. Mark Shequin, there's one person for him to beat, and I dive underneath the legs of the person that last person, and Mark goes on to score. But this time, the guy lands on top of my helmet, and it pulls down the helmet onto my nose, and you see this? You see that scar right there? That's how I got that scar, you know? So it's like, it's one of those red badges of courage. I left the game for a couple of plays to make sure that my nose wasn't broken or something like that. And then I went back into the game and we ended up winning. So that's the story, Bruce. Oh, wow. That's right. I did. You're right. The bowling. Hey, did you hear about Wesley? Bless him. Wesley, our old bowling partner. Weren't we on the same team? You, me, him, and at some point, I know you and I are on the same team. I think Wesley was on our team. He was definitely in our league. So, I don't know. Anyway, we love you, Bruce. Thanks for being. I often think about you. Anything to do with like helicopters and Marines, and you know, you're my closest friend that's been a Marine, I guess. You know, my nephew was in the Marines for a time. Now he was in Marine intelligence. Some would say that's an oxymoron. Just kidding. But he's a intelligence analyst in DC, a contractor now. Yeah. All right. So remember, I'm gonna say goodbye now. Remember that we love you, and Rainbow Dreams.